If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post a new Tom Brady video every day.
But as soon as Tom Brady dropped into that Buccaneers building, I think everybody that knew football knew that everything was going to get heightened, everything was going to get better. And here he is in his first year in the NFC as the NFC champion. And now he's taking a squad that looked lost just 1 year ago to the biggest game of all time. Tom Brady is an icon. He's a legend. He's a GOAT for a reason. And I'm just thankful to be alive to get a chance to watch his avocado ice cream eating ass do what he does. And today is a monumental day. Today is a day that'll be chatted about forever in the annals of sports history. The greatest champion of all time, the greatest athlete of all time, the greatest winner of all time, the greatest football player of all time has officially retired. When Tom Brady was a free agent, there were some people that would get on your desk, Greeny, and say, there isn't really a market for Tom Brady out there. And all I was saying is, if you get Tom Brady into your building, everybody gets better. Equipment managers get better. Athletic trainers get better. Your defense gets better. There's no wasted reps. There's no corners that are cut when Tom Brady's there because you know you have a guy. Congrats to Tom Brady, who became the fourth quarterback to beat every single team in the NFL. It all goes hand in hand, and it's the Tom Brady effect. The defense was unbelievable. Patrick Mahomes not scoring a touchdown with that offense is something we never could have predicted, but I do believe it all is kind of tied in together whenever you got a guy who's the GOAT in 7 Super Bowls. It's unbelievable, the career, the accomplishments, and at 44, he looks, dare I say, more athletic than he's ever looked.
Yeah.
Like, he's always been an incredibly athletic, smooth runner.
Sure. Oh, yeah. He's juked Brian a lot.
Yeah. Before he has done all these things. And always, every time he's running, you think to yourself, that's a natural movement. You know, that running is very natural to him. That is what he wants to do. But with the TB12, pliability, Alex Guerrero at the house every single night, the dieting, him splitting the D and picking up that first down with that whole thing, good for Tom.
But I think when Peyton and Tom Brady, you know, their friendship has really started to blossom. On Peyton's places, they were golfing in Jim Nance's backyard. I mean, I think Peyton told Tom what life was like for Peyton in the NFL. You know, like, hey, if I wanted a guy cut, I could get a guy cut. If I wanted to do this, I could do this. And Tom Brady realized that 20 years into this thing, he had literally no control over a lot of things that a lot of other great and iconic quarterbacks have had control over. And I think Peyton probably said, like, hey, B.A.'s a good guy to be around, especially at this stage. He understands that you guys are going to work together. Clyde Christensen, the quarterback coach, is one of Peyton's favorite humans. I mean, I think Peyton Manning might have had a little bit more say in this entire decision than people could imagine. But I think whenever you start looking at it, it feels like it's the right decision. And I'm not 100% sure the media people love it because Tampa isn't like, you know, I mean, it's Tampa. It's not like Miami or Boston or New York or L.A., but I feel like they're going to really do some damage down there.
That was technically the only thing the Chiefs won all night, which was the coin toss. Okay. That thing, which was quite a heartbreaker for me, Neek. But it was interesting because the night did not go how any of us thought it was. I think like 80% of the bettors were on the over. I believe 80% of the money was on the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody expected a blowout in the opposite direction. And that's why, obviously, football is the greatest sport of all time. And you can bet 30 racks on a coin toss in the Super Bowl. That makes, you know, America awesome for sure, especially whenever you lose. But that game went nowhere near how any of us thought it was going to go, Greeny, even with your big brain having ass.
I'm sorry.
No way you thought that was going to happen, dude. A big conversation about Tom Brady is he's the greatest competitor of all time because his competitive stamina has remained so high in a sport that is so grueling for so long. When he had accomplished everything you could have ever fathomed or wanted to accomplish long ago, he continued to play, reinvented himself in a new city, won a Super Bowl down there, started businesses, started opening up to people, and we all got a chance to see late in his career why the greatness from very early on in his career had happened and been able to happen for so damn long. My rookie year, okay, I got drafted to a team that basically was a buzzsaw. Okay, we went undefeated until we chose not to in week 15, week 16. We lost 2 games. Then we get to the playoffs, and we end up going to the Super Bowl to play against the New Orleans Saints. And we all know how that ended, okay? Drew Brees and his baby are up there on the stage, and there's confetti falling. And I walked into the most miserable locker room I've ever seen in my entire life, and that was my rookie year. I was 22 years old. I figured we'd be back next year. I went in there into the locker room, tried to talk to a couple guys. Hey, not that big of a deal. We'll just run this thing back next year. That is not what happens unless you're Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes and City Chiefs. 10 appearances in the Super Bowl, 10 of his 21. I think that's like a 47 point something percentage of his career. He ends up in the Super Bowl. That's a higher percentage than Steph Curry shoots from 3. It is an unbelievable thing we're getting a chance to watch. And it isn't until it's all said and done that we give people flowers and everything like that. Peter King's blog said that the Tom Brady camp was interested in the Indianapolis Colts, but the Indianapolis Colts seemed to be dead set on Phillip Rivers. So the Colts, in turn, said no to Tom Brady, yes to Phillip Rivers, knowing that Tom Brady was interested. And I am still taken aback by this 2-3 hours after hearing of this information. If Tom Brady wanted to come to your team, AJ, I think you would want Tom Brady on your team if you were not set a quarterback. And now that I'm hearing, the Colts, and I trust Chris Ballard. I think Chris Ballard has a big brain, big Southern brain. He's a good guy. I think he's done all that stuff. And there's no reason for me not to trust him. But he clearly looked Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, right in the face. Said, nah, we're getting this guy, Phillip Rivers. Hey, he's a little bit younger than you, I guess, by a couple years. He hasn't won nearly as many Super Bowls. And yeah, it looks like he's struggling to throw every once in a while, but we're picking him over you for whatever reason. That's a mind blower to me. I did not expect that to happen. I did not expect that to be a case. And it is. That's the world we're living in.
Everybody wants to play for Brady or with him. Gronk's coming back. What about you, Pat? You got any thoughts about coming out of retirement, maybe kicking some balls for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I've been hearing some noise from your world. What do you think?
I'd be completely lying if I said I didn't go to my backyard and start punting balls this week. I mean, whenever you see Gronkowski come out of retirement, and I got a lot of friends that are older and free agents that I get along with very well that are calling me up saying, hey, let's go down to Tampa. Let's try to get a pinky ring, Super Bowl ring. I mean, there is definitely some thought on my end. I'm going to have to lose about 30 pounds because when I was punting this week, my thigh kept hitting my gut, which is a problem. But it is nice to know that I can still bomb a ball. I just have to figure out whether or not I can do it for the duration because it's been a couple of years here since I've really got on a workout schedule. But I would be lying if I said I did not see if I could go and try and make that Buccaneers team.
But whenever you look at all of these stats and all of the ownership of records that this dude has in the biggest league, in the biggest time on the entire planet, 60 million people were watching the AFC Championship the other day at its peak.
Damn.
58 million people were watching the NFC Championship at its peak on Sunday night. The NFL is by far in its biggest boom of all time. And the records that are held by the quarterback position and basically all facets of success in the NFL are by one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Hell yeah.
Pick 199. A man who has transformed both on the field and off the field.
Oh, yeah.
Pliability must be a real good thing. But look at all of these records. Most pass yards ever. Most pass TDs ever. Most completions ever. Most playoff pass yards ever. Most playoff pass TDs ever. Most playoff completions ever. Most wins ever. Most playoff wins ever. Most Super Bowl wins ever. Most Super Bowl MVP ever. This guy has all of those records. He's the greatest. That's why the guy is the greatest. That's why you would want him in your building if you could. And the Colts could have had him right down the street here. Could have been living right next door. And they said no to him. That's wild to me.
Could they have been able, would their contract situation, their cap situation, allow them to give him 2 years, $50 million?
Oh, yeah. $25 million a year. That's what they're giving Phillip Rivers anyways. And they're paying Jacoby $21 million or something like that. They got $40-some million in quarterback hits if the roster remains the same going into the season as it is right now. Because unless they trade away Jacoby, they're going to have to pay them both at over $20 million. Could have easily had the greatest of all time in here, but you said, you know who I want? I would like Phillip Rivers over Tom Brady. That's what they said.
What do you think of Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Patrick? What do you think of that idea?
You know what, Rich? I've been watching you since I was like 4 or 5 years old. And ever since I've watched you cover the NFL, I know that there's always a couple different ways to look at things and perspective. And I think the way to look at this particular move is it's not the sexiest pick. I don't think Tampa Bay is the sexiest pick. Nobody thought Tampa Tommy was going to be the move, and nobody thought a city like Tampa Bay would be the one that would land the greatest of all time for his first time in free agency in 20 years. But if you start looking at the pieces of the puzzle down there, the picture starts coming a lot more clear because Bruce Arians is not only handing over roster control, and he's an OG surrounded by a bunch of old coaches who've been there, done that with everything, but you got Godwin, you got Mike Evans, everybody's saying Antonio Brown is tied at the hip with Tom Brady. You bring him down to Tampa, and that Todd Bowles defense that went from 32 to 5 last year, all of a sudden you're talking about a real contender. Now, I think the Patriots will be a good football team because Belichick won't allow them to completely suck. But I think they're much more in a rebuilding phase than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in a potential win-it-now phase. And that's why you bring in the handsome-ass Tom Brady.
He, New England, his career will never be duplicated again. And I just want to say thank you, Tom Brady.
Thank you, Tom!
That's it for this video. I post a new Tom Brady video every day, so please like and subscribe. That way you'll always have a new Tom Brady video to watch every single day.